me.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you. A very good morning, a very good snowy morning to everybody, and welcome to this very special webinar about diversity and inclusion. And my name is Colin Lovering. I'm the chairman of the British Romanian Chamber of Commerce. So I said, a big warm welcome. I'm going to start off with a slightly provocative statement, if I may. Diversity and inclusion, why does it matter? Why should we care about diversity and inclusion? And I used to think that that was such an obvious answer to that sometimes I actually ignored the question. Of course, I was wrong, and I've discovered that there are many people who don't believe it matters at all. That is the unfortunate reality, and the reason, of course, why we really do need to address this important subject head on. Romania is transforming. We're all part of a fast growing and changing country. Demand for our products and services is strong, and Romania's exceptional talent in technology, particularly, is reducing our distance from global markets. So we don't just need skilled people from all areas of society. We also need to ensure that literally everyone has the opportunity to live their lives to the full and be recognized with equal value and respect. I feel that we are on that journey, but obviously there's still a very long way to go. So hopefully to accelerate that particular journey, we're delighted to have three very distinguished guest speakers with us today. There are going to be 3 10-minute presentations, and then lots of time for you, the audience, to ask any questions that you may have, which you can share with us, and we'll try and fit all those in before the end of the hour. We are live streaming on Facebook right now, so if you've got a colleague who wants to tune in, tell them to go onto the Facebook page right now, and they can join us live. So our distinguished guests, we have Agnieszka Blas, the Managing Director for DHL Express Romania. We have Carmen Micu, the Chair of the Board of Directors, IASE International, and I'm going to let Carmen explain the acronym. So welcome to you two. And to kick things off, a long-time personal friend of mine and a friend of the BRCC, Mrs. Camellia Platt, CEO of Light into Europe. Camellia, a warm good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm encouraged, despite the shocking situation that we all see and are part of, and especially thinking of the almost 3 million Ukrainian people with disabilities that do not have even the skills. They have the skills, but they do not have the physical and the mental strength to move out of the country. And it's so critically important to join forces and to talk even more about inclusion and diversity in conflict. But today I'm going to talk about how we prepare our society, our communities, and companies to include people with disabilities. And Light into Europe is a charity that is developing services for 2 very I would say very special category of disability, the blind and the deaf. If I can share my screen. I hope you see.
Yes, you're there. You're there. Yeah.
Lovely. So basically, what our beneficiaries tell us is that providing education and employment and accessibility is about justice, and it's not about charity. And the inequalities that people with disabilities in Romania have been victims of are equally critical to be understood as an imbalance of expectations of the society and the community of people with disabilities. But the workplace, as you were starting talking about employment and workplace, yeah, especially after this COVID pandemic and the global period of changes and transformation, it really makes sense to understand what the workplace is. Yeah, a place of flexible and appropriate physical and cultural harmony, understanding. Yeah, and the outcome of creating the best places means that everybody feels welcome, and this is universal, doesn't have to be about disability, where their rights and needs are being met and everybody's abilities are valued, and there is dignity and respect. And this is actually the conclusion of the most recent Disability Global Summit that built on the London First Global Summit back in 2018. So what do we mean by disability? Because it's one of these words that we don't want to press too much or to look too deeply into it. Well, disability, it is about people that have either sensory or cognitive or physical conditions, and that is the trigger that experiences where they experience the barriers when they are engaging with the environment, with the day-to-day activities. And when we're talking about barriers, one of the most difficult barriers to accept for us as a society is actually our attitude. And if I can say, I just want to quote one of our beneficiaries, a very bright young lady. Her name is Mariana. And she says, it's a badge of shame on our society that thousands of disabled people like me are still being treated as not being treated as equal citizens and continue to be denied the everyday rights non-disabled people take for granted, such as being able to access transport, accessible public services, or benefit from education and employment. It is essential that our society recognizes and addresses these problems, and we are calling for a new national focus on our rights of people with disabilities, so we disabled people are not longer treated as second-class citizens. What we are talking about here? What is the population? You know, is it this a group that is relevant? Of course it is, because at global level we've got statistics for 1 billion, over 1 billion people with disabilities, and in Romania, this is our numbers. It's almost 1 million Romanian people. That is a significant number because it means 1 in 20 people have a disability. But look at the number of people with disabilities, with physical disabilities. We are talking the size of a city like Galați or Brasov. And on top of that, we have a similar number of people that had to be reduced to the position of personal assistant. Yeah, we're talking here adults in employment, at employment age, that are the parents of some of these children, especially with disabilities, that are depriving our economy of their professional capacity just because they need to look after their disabled children. So we are talking quite significant numbers and very important decisions to be made when we are talking about diversity and inclusion in employment, because it could be not only a person with disability, but the parent of a child with disability. How we are, as a society and as an employer, deal with this type of situation, how we bring them back, or how we make sure that their rights and needs are being met. As Light into Europe deals especially with children and young people, and this is where everything should start, because preparation for work and inclusion, it is about the first day of their life, or at least as soon as that disability is diagnosed. So again, we have some big numbers. We're talking about 70,000 children with disabilities. That means 0 to 18. And what is most important to understand as where this preparation for life fits into is that half of them are in these special schools. Now, the special schools are not special because they have extra help in it. These are the special schools where the hidden institutionalization happen, because it's just a segregational approach to bring the children with disabilities away from the society. And when you have such a cushioned and sheltered environment as in your formative years, of course, the barriers, including the personal barriers of the person with disability on how accessing employment becomes even more significant. And to add to this, let's say, infrastructure biases, we have that barrier and attitude, the attitudinal barriers, that is the most difficult, or the most challenging to approach. And with the attitude, we're talking, of course, first of all, on the terminology, on how we name and how we look at these people. Yeah, because as you see on my slide, not all the disabilities look like a crippled man in the wheelchair. There are disabilities like the deaf and the blind that physically look like us. But we have quite strong and negative terminology that we are still using. And unfortunately, in Romania, we're not talking too often about positive reinforcement and positive communication. And that's where we should make a collective effort in the chamber to lead by example and change that. Yeah, so we're talking about people with disabilities and not disabled people. We're talking about people living with hearing loss or sight loss and not suffering of. It's we're saying people using a wheelchair and not confined or crippled. So that shift on terminology will requires a strong, a robust implementation. Why is that? Why we want to see these changes? Because we are moving from the medical model of the disability, where the disabled person is the problem, to the social and the human rights model of disability, where actually the society and the world is not adapted to all the individual needs that we all have, because badly designed buildings will be a problem for an elderly, or for a mom with a pushchair, or with somebody with a temporary disability. Isolation that these families live generates depression and mental health issues that put a burden, extra burden on the medical system, on the healthcare services. Discrimination is about not being able to accept me as I am, with all the hate implications. So it's all about changing the view, the approach onto what we need to do together, that no gap policy that the International Labour Organization is talking about as a strategy, where to ensure that we are working towards equality, which is not the sole responsibility of one entity, and is rather shared among different actors, all working at different level. I don't know what the time is, but please stop me when the 10 minutes are 2 minutes. Right. So moving on quickly, swiftly, onto how Light into Europe is addressing the equality and how we prepare our beneficiaries for employment. For people that do not know about Light into Europe, we are a national disability charity that supports children and young people with sight and hearing loss to lead an independent life and to be active, respected members of the society. Because the future for Romania is a future where people with disabilities will contribute and benefit from the cultural, social, political, and economic life on equal basis with everybody. So what are the biases, as we wanted to talk about these systemic challenges? So basically it's a power imbalance, because it's about stigma and discrimination. It's about the disempowering legislation, the lack of accommodation, the accessibility, and the lack of role models. But the solutions are there, and it should be about accessibility, inclusion, and empowerment. And I stop here, and I will give you more details in the question and answers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Camellia. Thank you. Sort of a sobering presentation for us, and I think, yeah, there's a lot of work still. I guess it's more about education and demystifying, much more than discrimination. Maybe the discrimination is born from lack of understanding, and you know that I know many of your beneficiaries very well, and I've experienced it. And I think maybe the word disability is part of the problem. I call it extra ability, because of course when somebody does have a challenge, it kind of excels them in other ways, particularly I would say passion and enthusiasm with many of your beneficiaries I've had the pleasure and honor to meet. And you mentioned about in the business world as well. So we're going to bring in Carmen Miku in here to really talk about the impact in terms of business performance. And just before Carmen kicks off, just for everybody, gather your questions and send them in to us, and we will address those. I've already got one or two lined up, but Carmen, over to you. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for your invitation. We are moving quite aggressive, I would say, in a way from what has been just said regarding people that can contribute on a different level than we are used to the level of professionalism in the terms of who is leading the entities, regardless that these are, companies or NGOs or why not, and even more the political entities. Today we have so many implications as we see around us, and not only about the current critical situation in the Central and Eastern Europe, but also all over the world. We see a clear shift in the values that we are used to have before, and even now more looking at the tradition, looking at the way of we are acting, working, about communities, about the new ESG concept that actually it's the next step from corporate social responsibility concept existing before, and so on. So women have a lot to contribute when we think about the fact that yesterday was the International Women's Day, but not only. And when you talk about diversity, this is a very, very complex topic. And I would like to share with you some researches we have done at the level of leadership in Romania, and not only. Allow me to share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, you're there, yeah.
Okay, good. So see if it works like this. As an introduction, we have conducted several researches around the Romanian business environment, and not only when it comes to boards. And we have scrutinized what it means, board diversity, and how this impacts the company's performance. Just to share with you a couple of figures. What it's important to know that the basis of this analysis was actually the panel of companies listed at the Bucharest Stock Exchange. We are talking about 70 companies over a period of 5 years, and the conclusions were also officially published in December last year. So it's rather new information that I'm sharing with you. Our findings show that there is a 10% increase of return on equity when it's coming to having more independent board members in the board. And sorry, there's a 10% increase in the share of independent board members. It's shown with a 0.93 increase in the return on investment over this 5 years period. We also noticed that there are only 21% of board members represented by women, out of which, when it comes to one-tier board, we are talking about the CEOs that are present in these boards, and only 11% are women. And another finding of our research in terms of correlation, which is a very positive result, It shows that return on equity and return on assets is strongly impacted, positively impacting, impacted by the presence of the women on board. What we want to say by that is that theoretically and practically, we were looking at women contributing from different perspectives to a board. And the reason why we have this positive correlation, I'm going to show you in the next slide, not before, showing you as well what it means board diversity impact on company performance from the FTSE 350. So it's not only Romania. We are going to see also that the percentage of women existing in a board is highly correlated with several factors. Meaning, first of all, better relationships in the board, better collaboration. And please do extend these insights not only to board, but also in any kind of community, any kind of situation where women are involved. Second, it's increasing firm reputation with a stronger impact on social responsibility. Also, women on board bring more solution orientation for the longer term strategy, and also provide access to broader capital, social capital and resources. Last but not least, we're talking about positive correlation again in terms of financial performance. This study was very interesting because it showed highly positive correlation in terms of bigger EBITDA, 5 percentage points higher over 1 year and 20 percentage points higher over a period of 5 years, which is very, very strong impact on financials of the company. So as I said, why this is happening, why the reason, why we have this reason within boards, the impact of the women. First of all, women come actually to boards with equal opportunity and merit. It's something that we need to take into account that in professional boards, so in professional leading entities, we are talking about, first of all and foremost, about technical competencies, then about board competencies, and last but not least, about the emotional and mental models. And this is where women are actually impacting more, because we are genetically programmed to have a long-term thinking. We negotiate differently whenever it comes to crisis and tension in a board, and our orientation is very strong towards community and the good of the group, which is the social aspect from the ESG concept. Women, because of their emotional and mental models, are more balanced in using their cues, their intelligence, and there are researched 5 types of cues when it comes to leading entities, leading organisms like boards. Of course, the regular intelligence, the IQ, we have the emotional intelligence, you have the political intelligence, which is emotional intelligence with an agenda, you have the resilience intelligence, and you have the moral intelligence. So all these intelligences, when it comes to boards, are actually focusing more on using only 3 of them, which is the resilience, the regular intelligence, and the political intelligence. And women are, as I said before, more familiar with these 3. They are more inclined to use them balanced, and they are more efficient in using them when it comes to leading the entities. So this makes women higher contributors over a longer time to boards and to any kind of entities that they are leading. And my last insight, what I want to share with you, it's more connected with success factors, because we know and we have spoken so many times, there are a lot of other researches and statistics that show that women have less representation in at executive level, management level, and of course non-executive board level. And I was asked several times why women are not so much represented there. And the reason is not necessarily the so-called screen glass ceiling, concept. It has more to do with the way we are built as women in terms of priorities. If you really want something, you can achieve it. You need the drive to have that. But you need first and foremost to know yourself, know your priorities, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and then communicate what you want assertively, continuously, politely. But you have to do that. We have conducted again some other studies why women do not choose positions of power. And the reason in 90% of the cases is not the lack of diversity in terms of gender and access to this position. It's more that when facing the real final decision to take or not to take that job or that role, 90% of the women prefer still to go back to family because they don't want to use the resources they have or the extra resources they have on building a career which puts a lot of pressure on them. So they prefer actually to step back. So that would be my my last slide that I wanted to share with you. Of course, I'm open to questions. There are a lot of other things I'm sure to share with you to talk about.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Very interesting insights there. Quick question for you, just on the trend in Romania. Is the trend on a positive route over the last 2 or 3 years in your study?
You mean women coming on board?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. You would be amazed how many women actually took on board a new position, and mainly because the average age of a woman in a board, it's over 50. It's around 52, which means they are out of the nesting.
Okay. A wonderful expression. Well, talking about women in leadership positions, our final speaker, Agnieszka, you're going to talk a little bit to us about diversity and inclusion at DHL. Good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, speaking about women in management, I am representing, and I'm not 15 yet, so it's good trend here in Romania, I can see. I'm not having any presentation for you today, but what I want to talk, it's what's happening and actually what we are doing in DHL. Because when I was listening Camellia and Carmen, what I can say, we are having everything here in DHL. Starting from global level, then to regional level and to local level. And why it is so important, diversity and inclusion for DHL, because we are very diverse. We are, DHL is it's present in 220 territories and countries, so we cannot be diverse. It's different religion, it's different color of the skin, it's different approach, different mentality, and many things that are different. And what we believe in DHL, that we can be beneficial from everything, everyone, everybody. And because we are so different, and we are taking from this benefits from this diversity. So this is one. Diversity and inclusion is also part of our global strategy in DHL. So it is not like only the program that is placed, or just only the slogan that diversity is it's very important for DHL, but we are having this also in our global strategy, which is converted to the local ones, and many of the things are happening. For us, diversity in DHL, it's like our nationality, because there are different nationalities, people with disabilities as well, gender, LGBTQ, age, race, color, religion, and many others, because we are very diverse, and we believe that everything can be utilized, and everyone is really valid for us, and everyone is beneficial for us. What we are doing, and it's also the topic, like Carmen was saying, the topic about women in management. So we are having many programs, and again, we are having quite a big project, global one for women who wants to be a manager. And those women are going through the development program, are going through support, mentoring, and coaching. And mentors and coaches are for us our global members board. So they are also giving us support as women, and it's like men supporting women, because we believe we can be beneficial working together. It's not only women and we need to support women, but we need to be beneficial for cooperating together. So there is a big global program for women who wants to be a manager. So this is one. The other thing is huge awareness about equality, huge awareness about awareness program about disability, how we can support these people and how we can be also beneficial from the differences we are having. And like Camellia was saying, yes, we need to start with education, we need to start with awareness, we need to start with giving people information why it is important for us, and why inclusion means that my thoughts are different than yours, my approach is different than yours, but we can still work together and we can still be beneficial. I'm coming from Poland, you are coming from Romania, but we can still cooperate, and it is inclusion. So we are having this awareness program. The other thing is we are having, so it is program DHL for her, DHL for all. We believe that DHL is for all. So of course, probably person who cannot walk and is having wheelchair cannot be a courier, but this person can be can do some data works, can work differently, and step by step, because yes, we were not prepared for this yet, step by step, delivering new facilities, delivering new places for the work, we are taking care to have also possibility for people that cannot walk or can work differently, and we can be beneficial from this person as well. And we are having example in many countries, and also in Romania, having such a people working for us, because of course they cannot be a courier, but they can do different job for us. So this is the thing. And again, we and again, it's about awareness. This is also about developing people and leadership attributes. So we are having 6 leadership attributes, and among them, one is very important. We are international, and we are allowing people to work in different countries. I am the example of that, but we are having many other examples, and we are having also many other examples, Romanian citizens working for DHL for different countries, like Germany. We are having quite a lot of in head office Romanian people working there. So it is possible, and we are showing that in DHL diversity is very, very much needed, and we can only use from that. So on local level, it's awareness, is discussing with people, is developing people through leadership attributes, how we managers can support our people to understand what is diversity and inclusion, because for us, it's also the way of doing things, simple things. I have different approach than you, and it means that it's okay for me and for you, we can still cooperate. It is inclusion. I'm not criticizing that you have different opinion. It's the same. Your opinion can be valid for me. I can learn from it, even if I have different. So this is also inclusion, and it is. And I agree with Camellia that still a lot of work to do here. Really, still a lot of work to do here with the approach, way of thinking, and really saying, okay, you think differently, but it's still okay for all of us. So in DHL, many programs are already launched on global, regional, and local level, we are having also on local level a couple of programs like development programs for managers, for talents, for people who want to be active in social things. So quite a lot of is happening also locally here in Romania to build awareness. Because what I think we need to start from that our opinion can be different, but still we can cooperate together and we can be beneficial. So simple things. Let's start with the small and simple things to understand each other.
Perfect ending to your words. I think, the more simple something is, the more people will understand it. Agnieszka, it was interesting to hear you sort of talking and really putting the bigger picture in about, some people are different, whether it's nationality, whether it is a physical or mental disability, whether it's the color of their skin or whatever. And what you're saying, we need to push that out of our minds and just focus on what that person is particularly good at. And one example springs to mind was on my wedding day, and Camellia knows this person very well. She's very dear to her heart, but she was on the dance floor, and my nephew was on the dance floor. She grabbed hold of him, and they were rocking and rolling like two good uns, let's say. And at the end of the dance, she said, that was great. Could you show me back to my seat? And he said, why? And then he realized, and he came over, and it was like it's just incredible that she had very little sight. You know who I'm talking about, I think, Camellia. And that was just an example of it. But her dancing abilities were the best in the room. So maybe that's what we need to do. But it's a long.
But I think we are having also a very good example nowadays. How many people are supporting Ukrainian?
Yes. Yeah.
For me,
I think
also so. It also like, yes, we doesn't matter if they are from Ukraine. We need to help them.
It's true. I'd say it's a wonderful sort of side, but it's a strange word to use in the current circumstances. But I think it's quite interesting that you say that, and touching on what Carmen said about women in. Well, actually, Carmen, here's a question for you, because there is a balance, I think, in the amount that we talk about. If we're just focusing on women in leadership at the moment, just for a second, is there a balance to be made in how much we talk about it? Are there women in leadership who kind of like, well, hey guys, I don't need you to keep talking about this. I'm doing okay. It's about me as a professional. It's nothing to do with what gender I am. Is that something that we need to be sensitive to going forward?
That's a very good question. Thank you. I think there are some biases and some prejudices when it comes to gender diversity, more specifically advancing women in leadership. And this is coming from the fact that some persons are pushing women too much. It's going to be a lesser favor, so to say, that we do to them. Because we are professionals and we shouldn't be, regardless, by the way, talking about diversity and inclusion, we shouldn't talk about gender, we shouldn't talk about disabilities, we should talk about contribution that we bring to any kind of situation, context, entity, and so on. So if we talk about leadership and entities that are that they need to be led, so we talk about competencies before anything else. And the study that I've shown you for the FTSE 350 shows, for example, that when we talk about diversity and people, and especially men talking about diversity, they don't see women as a threat to their competence or to their position, because we talk about competencies first of all. Yeah. So to your question, the answer is we should talk more. But I think we should be careful how we talk about it, because if we put too much emphasis on gender diversity, then we missed actually that we are talking about competencies and merit. And this is something which is very dangerous. Maybe in a way, without wanting to enter into a debate, this is what we see today happening in the whole society. The kind of boiling things that are not only historically the war, the economy, the social impact, everything that is happening now shows a kind of a rearrangement of the values that we, women, humanity, and societies are actually going through. So
Yeah,
it's something that is connected with a little bit different things. That it's a little bit more soft. Perhaps it's a different level of, I don't know, complexity.
Okay, we'll come back to this emotionally intelligent subject in a moment. Well, I want to come to Camellia. We have got some questions, and Camellia, thank you. You've been typing frantically away, answering a lot of those. I got two questions for you. Just on one about microaggressions, which is a phrase I haven't come across, towards employees with disabilities, be prevented. How do we approach them when it happens? But I also want to go back to the presentation you gave, because you kind of had this the categorization, if I could call it that. So you have people with profound disabilities, severe disability, and medium disability, and we talked about this word disability. Is that the real issue here, Camellia? Is it just a complete misunderstanding of what this means? As I said, I see it as extra ability and passion and enthusiasm. You know, I talk to people employing on HR managers and say, what do you like? Somebody with fantastic skills and a bad attitude, or somebody who's willing to learn with a great attitude? And I guess I'm answering my own question by doing that. But is that, you know, in answer to the first question about how we deal with this, let's call it discrimination within the workplace, what should we be doing about it? And on the second question, just really on how we help to create those role models. I guess you know, every little girl in Romania wants to be a tennis player because of Simona Halep. You know, so there are sporting role models. And maybe we need role models in other areas as well, in inclusion and diversity. A long question for you, Camellia, but I'll let you work it out in terms of the answer.
Right. So I think the first one about how we label people. These categories that I mentioned there are related to this medical model of disability, where we are pinpointing how difficult and how or close to normality a person with disability is. Under the social model of disability and the human rights model of disabilities, this type of categorization doesn't make any sense. What we are talking is making the workplace more accessible, or implementing better training programs where we all benefit from new skills. If we have, let's say, a person with autism. So the attitude of our teams and our society and in general is what gives these people labels and put them in one category or the other. What we should be focusing is what can we learn from them, because behind these numbers there are amazing stories. You mentioned just one, you know, and coming back to our common friend, imagine how it is to finish university when you are losing sight and you have a twin sister that goes through the same process, and you have to finish your bachelor degree paper and nobody is helping you, but you finish, you make it. So you know, you bring somebody like that in a training session, and I tell you, and you know, that everybody is reconsidering life priorities. But accessibility, again, I'm saying, and it's going to be the biggest word Light into Europe is going to shout this year. We really have to implement and look more seriously at accessibility from public policy point of view, and you are very powerful community leaders, that you can take that topic in the governmental decision-making level to companies, because we can all do our share of accessibility. You know, for somebody who's losing sight because of retinitis pigmentosa, by the way, that is the biggest cause of sight loss in the world. And the numbers are growing massively because of the computer use as well. Yeah, redesigning our offices to make areas of bolder contrast. Yeah, bigger, brighter, bolder is one of the accessibility mantra. That will be beneficial for everybody. So what I'm saying is it's all how we can see ourselves and the community together in the best terms possible.
Okay. And thank you. And Agnieszka, just following on from Camellia's words, I guess we can hope for legislation to if I'm going to use the word impose, but to strongly encourage diversity by statistics for companies. But I guess what Camellia is saying, and I guess what we're all saying, is yes, that's helpful, but what we really want is people doing it because it's the right thing to do and it's passionate to do. Agnieszka, there was a question there, and thank you for the questions. It's an anonymous attendee. I'm not sure if it's the same person asking all of the questions, but there's one about what is the most difficult part of implementing a D&I program. And Agnieszka, you've illustrated to us your passion for this, but particularly, I guess, because you've come in from another country, and you mentioned that, how difficult has it been for you? And this isn't a therapy session for you, but how difficult has it been for you, and how difficult is it to implement this and do the education, because you're trying to run a business at the same time?
For me personally, to change the environment, because let's say like that, yes, it was at the beginning difficult because it was like, it's new culture, new approach. But once I realized not pushing myself for doing things the same, but rather to step back and understand the others, it helps me a lot. So I need to rather take time. So for me, it was like, take time, observe, listen, do not push yourself, do not push the others, and yes, and adapt. And it takes a while, I have to say, it takes a while for adapting. It takes a while to think, okay, let's do it differently, or maybe let's do it like this or that. Maybe it's not this way and the other way. So it takes a while. Okay. How difficult it is very difficult, because if people are stuck in their opinion and they don't want to change it, this is difficult. And the only thing you can do it, you can be an example, you can be a role model, and this takes time. It's not like once you will do something, everyone will follow you. It takes time, but I think it's worth to really do it. It's worth to do it by an example. It's worth not to push people to do something differently, because you will have completely opposite outcome from that. But really, let's say, keep the space, show role modeling, and show them that actually world is going to that direction. So sooner or later we need to follow. There is no the other way, I think. Okay. So, but it is difficult. It takes time, and it takes your awareness that, okay, maybe it is slower, but I need to step back. I cannot push. So it is very difficult, mainly in the society when they are like parenthood society, when they are very society, when the hierarchy is really important, and it is difficult. It takes time, but it is possible. It takes more time. The only thing, you need to be consistent, you need to be role model, you need to be patient, and you need to give yourself a space as well.
Okay. I'm going to jump in quickly because Camellia has to leave us, and thank you from all of us for being here, but also what you're about to do. I know you're going to be working with some Ukrainian children and supporting on that. So congratulations, my best regards to Captain Stan as well. Camellia, thank you for being with us. I know you have to dash. Okay, and Camellia is just asking me, please announce the appeal to help Ukrainian families with disabilities. Yes, I've just done it, but we will make sure that we advertise that on the website as well. So thank you to you and all of the team. And yes, I'm going to stay with you as we've got a few minutes left. I just want to sort of carry on from that subject. So really sort of looking for good advice out there. So I guess, yeah, we've touched on legislation. I've used those words and everything else. Are you saying that one of the good ways of doing is maybe creating those role models at a medium, getting the expression right, but at a different level in the organization? Are people more likely to listen to the champions that they work with rather than the management team saying this is what we want to do, everybody, and feeling that it's a management benefit or a CSR initiative rather than actually doing it from a human perspective? That was another long question. Does that make sense? But does it make sense to create champions within the organization?
It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. So for me, it's from all the channels should go. It's not only from board to the people, from high to low. No, it needs to go from all channels. So if we are saying that diversity and inclusion is part of our DNA, it's part of our strategy, everyone needs to be consistent with that. So it means that we as a senior management team, we need to be consistent. And also, of course, the more beneficial for people on different levels is when they see that my colleague is doing that. And maybe I will follow the same, or maybe I will do the same. But they cannot stay, or maybe not but, and they cannot stay alone. They need to see that managers, senior managers, board members are doing the same. So we need to approach them from all angles. So it is not like only one direction, it's many directions. It is like, I am okay with following what my friend is doing or not. I am ready. First of all, I think all of us needs to answer the question, if I am ready. If I'm not ready, do not do it. Wait, because this is the question. If I'm ready, I will be doing. If I'm not ready, I will be only frustrated.
It's a very good point. I'm going to come back to you before we end for a little bit of advice, so you can start thinking about just a word of advice for anybody watching this. Carmen, I'm going to come to you. I've got a question in from my good friend Charlie Crocker. I'll read it out. Is there anything in the education curriculum to raise this very important subject and start awareness at the beginning for all school children and teachers and parents? And this can help vulnerable groups as well as society in general. So I guess it's a great question. Do we need to go back a little bit further rather than education in the business world, which you're already discovering is being still is quite a challenge? Should we go back a bit further and and tap into children who, I guess, talking about emotional intelligence, may have a better grip of these challenges more than when we become adults? Carmen.
Yeah, that's the perfect question in terms of development, because if we don't get it from the very beginning to communicate to the children and to not only to children, by the way, to the parents as well, that being diverse, it's a plus. That being diverse and different, it's not something that it should be pointed out or singled out. I think that's necessary from the very beginning. To be very, very, very honest, it's like this is a big challenge in terms of personal psychology, because what we talk at home, it's private and intimate, and you very hardly can change the minds of the parents in telling them there is no prejudice, there should be no prejudice against being different, you should embrace diversity. So this is something which definitely needs to be emphasized and taught from the very small age of our kids. But I think it has to be done in parallel, not only by the teachers, professors, whatever, we talk about kindergarten and school and even high school, but we should talk to the parents as well. Because current parents have been brought up with a different mindset. And if we don't change their mindset, we don't adjust that mindset, we cannot adjust their kids' mindset. So I think it's a societal effort. It's not just simple introducing our curricula, a new topic, we talk about embracing diversity, but if we don't come from more perspectives, more different ways to tackle this issue, nothing will happen, because it's so deeply embedded, this different thing, it's so deeply embedded in our minds, it will be difficult to change it.
Yeah. I think you illustrate probably one of the biggest challenges, for a young, and Charlie's point is a great one. I guess a 9-year-old can go home and say, hey, we want to do this with disability or whatever it is. And that parents, as you said, may have a different point of view, and the grandparents may have another point of view.
Even
so
more
I guess, So I guess it's about going back to Agnieszka. It's about the consistency of the message. So don't just tell people this is what we want to do. You have to be consistent as business leaders. I may have just stolen your bit of advice for everybody, Agnieszka. Have I, or is there something else you'd like to share with everybody listening?
I will stick to what I said previously. First of all, we need to be ready for that.
Yeah.
This is the most important. We cannot push people if they are not ready, because even if we will be role modeling, and we need to answer the question to ourselves first, if I am ready for that. Because if I'm not ready, if I'm not feel well with this, I will not even push myself. It will be only artificial steps.
Yeah.
So first of all, I need to be ready. I need to believe in that. And of course, I need to be open for this. So it's like every single person needs to answer the question. It's like with everything. If I'm ready, I'm doing it. If I'm not ready, then it will be only for me waste of time, energy, and waste of efforts, and we will not be beneficial. So this is the one thing. And of course, we need to be consistent. If I'm ready, I'm doing, I'm helping, I'm supporting, I'm role modeling, then I'm doing what I'm saying. So I need to be consistent. And it doesn't mean, and I'm always saying, because, diversity, inclusion, women in management, there are so many things, and people are thinking, oh my God, what is it? There is so big, there is so big things. No, do small step. Help your colleagues. Help your colleague. Understand that your colleagues have a right to have different opinion. Do not criticize. Listen carefully. Help. This. Let's start with the small steps. This is the really one thing, and another step until you are ready to do something bigger. I will tell you also the story. One of the meetings we were having with our board members and women leaders, and there was a question: what you need from us to support you? Nothing. We have everything. Just give us a normal space for the work. Nothing. I don't need anything special. I'm not different than human, really. I'm not. Why you are asking me different questions? The same. It's like, what you need to sacrifice in order to be a CFO? Nothing. What man you need to sacrifice? Those questions are not coming to men. They are coming to women. We are sacrificing the same things that men are sacrificing. If you are sacrificing family, it's not only women in the family, it's wife and husband, it's a children. So both of us are sacrificing. Why the questions are coming only to us? So treat us as the same like everyone. So this is my piece of advice.
Thank you very much. I think it's about authenticity and listening to you all. And probably in about 3 years' time, we'll be doing a men in leadership course to help the men. But maybe we won't go down that road. Thank you so much, Agnieszka, Carmen, and Camellia who's had to leave us. It's been a fascinating discussion. I think we're going to do another one. So thank you to Anna, Stefan and Madalena from the BRCC for organising it. Thank you for everybody for listening, and keep the questions coming in. We will pass those on to our panelists, and we'll keep the conversation going. So I think we're going to come back to this subject very soon. So obviously, I say our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Ukraine, and thank you for all the organisations who are consistently helping and doing their bit. And let's hope sensibility prevails somehow. But thank you everybody for joining us on this session today. And I think, Anna, very quickly, have we got the next event coming up? Anna, are you there? No, she's gone. Okay, we'll keep touch with the website, and you'll see the next BRCC event coming soon, when I think the sun will be shining and the snow will be gone. Take care. Thank you very much indeed, and see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.